Welcome back to Prime Wealth. Today, we're diving into a topic that affects so many of us: couples and money.
Yeah, it's such an important area, isn't it? When you bring two lives together, it's not just about love and companionship, but also about finances.
Exactly. And managing money as a couple can be challenging. But it can also be a great opportunity for growth and teamwork. We're going to explore how to navigate those waters together.
We'll cover some practical strategies for joint finances, like budgeting together, setting shared goals, and how to effectively communicate about money.
Plus, we'll talk about common pitfalls couples face and how to avoid them.
And, of course, we'll share some tips on how to keep the romance alive while managing finances.
It's all about finding that balance, right? So whether you're just starting out or have been together for years, there's something here for everyone.
Absolutely. Let's jump right in and start exploring how couples can create a financial partnership that strengthens their relationship.
You know, Alex, when we talk about couples and money, it feels like such an important topic, especially for those of us over 40. I mean, the stakes are high, right?
Absolutely, Jordan. At this stage in life, many couples are starting to think seriously about retirement. It's not just a distant dream anymore. It's looming closer, and that brings a lot of pressure.
For sure. And with inflation being what it is right now, I think a lot of couples are feeling that pinch. Everything's getting more expensive, and it can feel overwhelming.
Exactly. When you look at rising costs for essentials like housing, healthcare, and even groceries, it can add a layer of stress. I mean, think about it. A couple in their 40s or 50s might be juggling kids, mortgages, and planning for their own retirement all at once.
Right. And then there's the emotional side of managing finances together. Money can be such a taboo topic in relationships. Sometimes people just avoid it, but that can lead to big issues down the road.
Definitely. You'd be surprised at how many couples I've met who don't even know what their partner's income is or what debts they might be carrying. It's a recipe for misunderstandings, and it can create resentment.
That's so true. I've heard stories of couples where one partner is saving diligently while the other is spending without realizing the impact. It can lead to friction, especially when they have different financial philosophies.
And let's not forget about the statistics. Studies show that money is one of the leading causes of stress in relationships. It's not just about the numbers. It's about how those numbers make you feel.
Yeah, and when you throw in the emotional weight of financial security or insecurity, it becomes even more complex. For many, that sense of security is tied directly to their relationship stability.
Exactly. And when you're over 40, you're often faced with unique life stage concerns. Perhaps you're caring for aging parents, dealing with college tuition for your kids, or even thinking about what you want your legacy to look like.
That's a lot on your plate. And if you're not communicating about finances, it's easy for those pressures to build up. I can imagine how that could lead to conflict. Or even worse, a feeling of isolation.
Right. It's about more than just budgeting. It's about building a partnership around shared goals. When you're aligned on your financial vision, it can strengthen your bond.
And let's talk about long-term planning. If you're just starting to think about retirement, it's crucial to be on the same page. You might have different timelines or expectations, and that can cause a lot of stress, if not discussed openly.
Oh, for sure. I've seen couples who plan to retire at different ages. One partner is ready to slow down, while the other wants to keep working. That can lead to major disagreements if they haven't laid the groundwork together.
So, what are some practical ways couples can start addressing these issues? It seems like a daunting task, but it doesn't have to be.
Well, one effective approach is to have regular money dates. Just carve out some time, maybe once a month, to sit down together and discuss your finances. It can be as simple as reviewing your budget or talking about your goals.
I love that idea. It makes it feel less intimidating, right? And you can create a safe space to share your thoughts and concerns.
Exactly. And it's not just about the numbers. You can also talk about your feelings around money. Maybe one partner feels anxious about spending, while the other feels guilty for not saving enough.
That's such a good point. Creating an open dialogue can help break down those barriers. And it can really help both partners feel heard and understood.
And don't forget about setting shared goals. It could be saving for a vacation, paying off debt, or even planning for retirement. Having a common goal can unite you and give you something positive to work towards together.
Right. Plus, it helps you both stay accountable. When you have shared financial goals, it's easier to make spending decisions together.
And let's talk about the role of technology. There are so many budgeting apps and tools out there that can help couples track their spending and savings. It can make those money dates much more productive.
That's a great tip. I think many people might not realize how much easier tech can make those discussions. It can help visualize where your money is going, which can lead to more informed conversations.
Exactly. And remember, it's not just about the financial aspects. Being aligned on your financial values, like whether you prioritize experiences over material things, for example, can make a huge difference in how you approach money together.
So true. I think it's about building a financial partnership. And the earlier you start having these important conversations, the better.
Yes, this is something that can be worked on at any stage. Even if you're already in your 50s, it's never too late to start communicating openly about finances.
So, as we move forward, what should couples keep in mind as they navigate this journey together?
Well, it's all about taking those first steps, being open, and making sure you both feel comfortable discussing finances. That creates a foundation for a healthier financial future together.
And that leads us into some core strategies that can really help couples get on the same page financially. So Alex, now that we've talked about the importance of communication, let's dive into some core strategies that couples can use to manage their finances together. What's a good starting point?
Well, one of the first things I often suggest is creating a joint budget. It's a straightforward way to keep track of your combined income and expenses. Having that clear picture can really help both partners feel involved and informed.
Right, and budgeting can feel a bit daunting at first, but how do you suggest couples go about creating one together?
A good approach is to start with a budgeting app, or even just a simple spreadsheet. List out all your sources of income, then move on to fixed expenses, like rent or mortgage, utilities, and then variable expenses, like groceries and entertainment.
I can see how that would make it easier to visualize everything. What about setting limits on those variable expenses?
Exactly. That's where you can really make a difference. Set spending limits for different categories, and don't forget to include some fun money. It's important to allocate a little for leisure to keep things balanced,
Right, because who wants to feel restricted all the time? And it seems like that could open up conversations about priorities, too.
Absolutely. Once you have a budget, sit down together regularly, maybe monthly, to review it. Talk about what's working, what isn't, and adjust as necessary.
That sounds like a great way to keep both partners engaged. And what about savings? Should that be part of the budget too?
Definitely. Aim to include a savings goal in your budget. A common rule of thumb is the 50-30-20ths rule. 50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings and debt repayment.
That's a nice simple formula to remember. Can you elaborate a bit more on how couples might tackle their savings goals?
Sure. One effective strategy is to set specific savings goals together. Maybe you want to save for a vacation, a house renovation, or even retirement. Having that shared vision can really motivate both of you.
And how should couples decide how much to save towards those goals?
Start by determining how much you'll need for each goal, and then break it down into monthly contributions. For example, if you want to save $6,000 for a vacation in a year, you'd need to set aside $500 each month.
That's a practical way to make big goals feel more achievable. What about debt? How can couples manage that together?
Managing debt can be tricky, but it's crucial to tackle it as a team. First, list all your debts, credit cards, student loans, anything outstanding, and then prioritize. A common method is the snowball or avalanche approach.
Right, the snowball method focuses on paying off the smallest debt first, while the avalanche method targets the highest interest rate. Is there a way to decide which one to use?
It often depends on your personality and motivation. If you need quick wins to stay motivated, the snowball method might be better. But if you want to save more on interest, the avalanche method is more efficient in the long run.
That makes sense. And I imagine communication is key when deciding how to tackle debt together.
Absolutely. Be open about each other's financial habits and discuss how you can support one another. For instance, if one partner has a tendency to overspend, it might be useful to set up alerts for spending limits.
Yeah, that's a practical tip. And What about joint accounts versus separate accounts? How do couples navigate that?
That's a common question. It really depends on the couple's preferences and financial habits. Some couples find it easier to have a joint account for shared expenses, while keeping individual accounts for personal spending.
So it's like a hybrid approach? That could help maintain a sense of independence while still working towards common goals.
Exactly. Just ensure you're both on the same page about how much goes into the joint account and how it's spent. Regular check-ins can help keep things transparent.
I love that. And what tools do you recommend for couples managing their finances together?
Well, there are plenty of apps out there that can help streamline the process, like Mint, YNAB, You Need a Budget, or even simple shared spreadsheets. The key is to find something that both partners are comfortable with.
And I imagine it's important to revisit your budget and financial goals periodically too, right?
Yes, life changes. Things like a new job, kids, or even retirement plans can shift your financial landscape. Regularly reviewing your budget together ensures you're both adapting to those changes.
That's a good point. So would you say that flexibility is crucial in a financial partnership?
Absolutely. Being flexible and open to change can help both partners feel secure and valued in the relationship.
And I can see how that would build trust too. But what about the common pitfalls couples might encounter in this process?
Well, one major pitfall is lack of communication. If one partner is making financial decisions without consulting the other, it can lead to resentment. Another is failing to set clear goals. If you don't know what you're working towards, it can feel aimless.
Those are insightful points. It sounds like couples really need to establish a strong foundation of trust and communication to navigate their finances successfully.
Exactly. And it's also crucial to understand each other's financial backgrounds and habits. This can prevent misunderstandings down the road.
That makes a lot of sense. So as couples work through these strategies, they should remain aware of those potential pitfalls and be proactive in addressing them.
Right, and that proactive approach can make a world of difference in their financial journey and relationship.
So those are some immediate steps couples can take to manage their finances together. Now let's bring everything together in the outro. So Alex, we've talked about the importance of communication and setting goals together. But what about the pitfalls? What are some mistakes couples commonly make when it comes to managing money together?
Oh, there are definitely a few common traps that couples can fall into. One big one is not having regular money conversations. Assuming everything is fine because you don't talk about it.
Right, it's like that saying, no news is good news, but with money, that's often not the case.
Exactly! And this can lead to misunderstandings or even resentment. For instance, I once worked with a couple who didn't discuss their spending habits. One partner was saving diligently while the other was racking up credit card debt. They only found out about the debt when it became too overwhelming.
Wow, that must have created a lot of tension.
It did. And that's a classic example of how not communicating can lead to financial stress. Another pitfall is not defining what joint finances means for both partners.
What do you mean by that?
Well, for some couples, it means pooling all their resources into one account, while for others, it might mean keeping separate accounts but still contributing to shared expenses. If one partner thinks they're fully committed to joint finances and the other doesn't, it can create a lot of confusion and conflict.
So, setting clear expectations is crucial then?
Absolutely. And that brings us to another common mistake, not having a shared budget. I've seen couples who just wing it when it comes to spending.
How does that usually play out?
Not well. One couple I knew ended up overspending on dining out because they didn't have a budget. They enjoyed their meals out, but when the credit card bill came, they were shocked. They hadn't realized how much they were spending, and it quickly turned into a financial strain.
That's a tough lesson to learn.
It really is. And it can become a cycle. If one partner feels guilty about spending, they might try to hide purchases, which leads to mistrust.
So trust is a huge factor here, right?
Definitely. When one person feels the need to hide spending, it fractures that trust. Another mistake is not considering each other's financial history.
Like previous debts or spending habits.
Exactly. If one partner has a history of financial irresponsibility or debt, it's important to address that openly. A couple I worked with had one partner who had a significant amount of student loans, And the other partner didn't know until they were knee-deep in planning a wedding.
Yikes. That must have been a shock. How did they handle it?
They had to have some tough conversations about their financial future and how those loans would impact their plans. It was a learning experience for both of them, but it helped them grow closer in the end.
That's a silver lining. Are there other signs that couples should look out for?
Yes, definitely. One big red flag is if money discussions always lead to arguments. If every time you bring up finances, it turns into a fight, that's a strong indicator that something needs to change.
What can they do in that situation?
They should consider setting aside dedicated time to talk about finances in a calm environment, and maybe even bringing in a neutral third party, like a financial advisor or counselor, can help facilitate those discussions.
That sounds like a smart approach.
It really can be. Another danger sign is if one partner feels completely excluded from the financial decision-making process. If one person handles all the finances without involving the other, it can lead to feelings of powerlessness.
That makes a lot of sense. It's important for both partners to feel equally invested, right?
Exactly. And, another common mistake is ignoring the emotional side of money. Finances can be tied to personal values, upbringing, and even identity.
So it's not just about the numbers?
No, it's really not. For example, one partner may have grown up in a family where saving was prioritized, while the other might have been raised to enjoy spending. Those differences can lead to clashes if they're not addressed.
I can see how that would create conflict.
Right? And it's important to remember that financial goals are often tied to personal dreams. If couples don't take the time to understand each other's aspirations, they could end up working towards different objectives.
So how can couples avoid these pitfalls?
Well, first, they need to create a safe space for discussing finances. That means setting aside regular check-ins where they can both speak openly without fear of judgment.
Sounds like a great start.
Another step is to create a joint budget together, making it a collaborative effort. This helps align their spending with their goals and values.
And that reinforces teamwork, right?
Absolutely. And they should also share the responsibility of managing finances, whether that's paying bills, tracking expenses, or setting savings goals.
That way, both partners are on the same page.
Exactly. Finally, being open about financial histories can help build trust. If both partners understand each other's financial backgrounds and motivations, it fosters empathy and teamwork.
Those are some really actionable steps.
So those are some immediate steps you can take. Now let's bring everything together in the outro.
So now that we've covered some of the important discussions couples should have about money, let's dive into some actionable steps. What can couples do right away to start managing their finances together more effectively?
Great question. The first step is really simple. Sit down together and have that money date. Carve out some time just for this. It doesn't have to be long, maybe just an hour or so. Pick a comfortable space, grab a cup of coffee, and talk about your financial goals and concerns.
I love that idea. Making it a date takes the pressure off a bit. And what should they focus on during this time?
Well, they should discuss their individual financial situations first. It's important to be transparent about income, debts, and any financial obligations. This way, both partners can understand where each other stands.
Right, and that sets a good foundation for building a joint plan, doesn't it?
Exactly. After sharing those details, couples can start talking about their financial goals. Maybe one partner wants to save for a vacation, while the other is focused on paying off debt. It's vital to align those goals and find common ground.
And what if they realize their goals don't align?
That's a common situation, and it's okay. It can be a chance to compromise. Maybe they can decide on a shared goal that incorporates both perspectives. Like, you could set aside some money for that vacation while still contributing to debt repayment.
That sounds fair. Once they've set those goals, what's next?
The next step is creating a budget together. There are plenty of budgeting apps that can help with this. Have you heard of apps like YNAB, Mint, or EveryDollar?
Yeah, I've heard of them. They make tracking expenses so much easier.
Exactly. And they can help couples see where their money's going. A good budget should reflect both partners' priorities. It's about finding that balance and being flexible.
So, what about those couples who might not be tech savvy?
Good point. If apps aren't their thing, they can always use a simple spreadsheet or even good old pen and paper. The point is to have a clear view of their income and expenses.
And once they have a budget, how should they manage it moving forward?
Regular check-ins are key. Maybe set a monthly meeting to review the budget together. This allows couples to discuss what's working, what's not, and make adjustments as needed.
That sounds really important. It's not just about setting it once and forgetting it, right?
Exactly. Finances can change. Unexpected expenses come up, and income might shift. So keeping the lines of communication open is crucial.
What about saving? Should couples have a joint savings account?
That can be a great idea, especially for shared goals. It makes it easier to see progress and stay motivated. But it's also important to have individual accounts for personal expenses or hobbies.
So, a mix of joint and individual accounts?
Yes, that balance works well for many couples. It encourages teamwork while still allowing for personal financial independence.
Speaking of teamwork, what about setting up some habits that can help?
Absolutely, habits are essential. One habit could be to track spending daily or weekly. Even just a quick review of expenses can help keep both partners accountable.
I can see how that would help avoid surprises at the end of the month.
Right? And another habit could be to celebrate financial wins, big or small. Whether it's paying off a credit card or reaching a savings milestone, acknowledging those achievements can boost morale.
That's a great way to keep motivation high. Are there any specific tools or resources you'd recommend for couples looking to improve their financial literacy together?
Definitely. A few good books come to mind. The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey is great for understanding debt and budgeting. Smart Couples Finish Rich by David Bach also offers practical advice tailored to couples.
Those sound helpful. And what about podcasts or online resources?
There are tons of finance podcasts out there. A couple that I recommend are The Money Guys and So Money by Farnoosh Torabi. They offer relatable advice and insights that can be really beneficial.
Perfect. I love the idea of learning together. It can make the whole process feel less daunting.
Exactly. And finally, I'd suggest setting up an emergency fund together. It doesn't have to be massive. Just a few months' worth of expenses can provide a safety net.
That sounds like a smart move. So they could even start small, right?
Yes, absolutely. They can start by saving a little each month until they reach that goal. It's about building that habit of saving together.
And that can give couples a sense of security, knowing they have a cushion in case something unexpected happens.
Exactly. It's all about creating that financial stability, which, in turn, can strengthen the relationship.
Those are some really practical steps. Now let's bring everything together.
All right. So as we wrap up our discussion on couples and money, let's highlight a few key takeaways.
Yeah, definitely. One major point is the importance of open communication. It's really essential for couples to talk honestly about their financial goals and concerns.
Exactly, and that leads into the second takeaway. Understanding each other's financial habits. Knowing how your partner approaches spending and saving can really help in creating a balanced financial plan together.
Right, and we also touched on the idea of joint versus separate accounts. Finding what works best for both partners is crucial, whether that means combining finances completely or keeping some independence.
And let's not forget the value of regular financial check-ins. Setting aside time to review your financial situation together can help you stay aligned and on track.
Absolutely. It creates a sense of teamwork, which is so important.
So if you're navigating finances as a couple, remember that communication, understanding, and regular check-ins can make a world of difference.
Yeah, and also don't be afraid to seek professional advice if you feel stuck. Sometimes an outside perspective can really help clarify things.
And as we wrap up, just remember, building financial security together is a journey, not a race. Celebrate your wins, no matter how small.
That's so true. And speaking of journeys, next time, we're diving into a single-person finance guide. We'll explore strategies tailored for those managing their finances solo.
That should be really insightful, especially for our listeners who are single or perhaps just navigating life changes.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who could benefit from these tips, especially if they're over 40.
And don't forget to comment your thoughts or experiences with joint finances. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks for joining us today. We're looking forward to seeing you next time.